Following the attempt on Trump's life that just took place a couple of days ago, the internet feels like it's reaching an all-time low, if that were at all possible. Some of the reactions that have been floating around have been genuinely sickening. So let's go through some of the most disturbing reactions to what happened, what this means for the future of our country, and how those of us that are Christians should react in this increasingly frustrating time. Now, Twitter, or X, has become a place for some of the nastiest dialogue on the internet, and some of the most disturbing comments on X came from one popular influencer in particular. The streamer and debater Destiny, who, although I disagree with on a lot of things, he does have some genuinely insightful things to say a lot of the time, which makes how he responded to the situation all the more shocking. Now, just a heads up, we're about to go through some incredibly disturbing tweets, so viewer discretion is advised for this section. So Destiny started off by saying that he felt conflicted about the shooting, which raised a lot of eyebrows as soon as he tweeted it. And still, people were initially willing to give him the benefit of a doubt, but all of that quickly changed as his tweets started to rapidly escalate. He started saying things like, Donald Trump incited an insurrection and then was granted full criminal immunity for possibly all of his involvement. I have zero sympathy for anything that happens to him or anyone who supports him. And I want to profusely apologize to any Trump supporters in my audience that I've misled into thinking I viewed them as anything beyond unpatriotic, treacherous, anti-American scum that they are. If I've offended anyone with my recent tweets, I'd like to make things right. DM me and I'll buy you front row seats to the next Trump rally. Now, though initially a lot of people thought this was trolling, people quickly realized that it wasn't as he continued to tweet. He went so far as to mock the man who unfortunately lost his life in tweets like these. And one tweet in particular that I found incredibly disturbing was this one. As you can see, it's a picture of the crime scene where the man lost his life, and Destiny captioned this pic by saying, "All I see is Biden up +1 in Pennsylvania." Now, I've seen a lot of stuff over the years on social media since I have to keep up on things for this channel, and this is one of the sickest responses that I've seen. And the reason why Destiny's responses were so shocking for people is because most of the conservatives that he's engaged with, even though they don't agree with them, they usually consider him to be one of the most reasonable progressives. So this made a lot of people wonder, what could have possibly caused him to respond to the shooting this way? Well, from reading more of his tweets, it's clear that one reason that he seems to be lashing out in this way is because when Nancy Pelosi's husband was brutally attacked with a hammer in his home, some of the same conservatives that are condemning violence against Trump were the same ones who mocked Nancy's husband for getting attacked with a hammer. This prompted Destiny to respond to the host of the conservative-leaning podcast, The Quartering, for being hypocritical about this entire situation. Destiny posted screenshots of the host, not only tweeting how he was disappointed that Nancy Pelosi wasn't killed when she was trending, but he also made tweets mocking the attack and insinuating the attack was a cover for her husband having gay intercourse. Destiny also justified his extreme reaction to the attempt on Trump's life by claiming that Trump also mocked Nancy Pelosi's husband when Trump said this.
And we'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? And she's against building a wall at our border, even though she has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job.
But clearly, if it's wrong when Trump mocks the victims of violence, then it's wrong when Destiny does it as well. There's still right and wrong no matter who you agree with or don't agree with politically. Now, I understand the frustration that people have over political disagreements on both sides as things are getting incredibly crazy over the last few years, but there's simply no justification for what The Quartering or Destiny said in those tweets. Two things can be true at once. It's wrong to mock someone for being violently attacked, and it's also wrong to condone anything like an assassination attempt on an American politician. I don't care how much you don't like Trump's politics or Pelosi's politics. That should be true for anyone who appreciates the benefits of living in America. But unfortunately, it wasn't just Destiny making horrendous tweets. For example, a staffer for a Mississippi Democratic congressman wrote, "I don't condone violence, but please get you some shooting lessons so you don't miss next time." Oops, that wasn't me talking. And after October 7th happened and people immediately started to justify what Hamas did, that to me was a new level of evil that showed not only the lack of care for human life lately, but also the depths of our sinful nature that comes out in political bias. Given the fact that most of us are only hearing news that places the sole blame for the majority of the world's problems on the other side, extreme bias reporting makes it easier than ever to find reasons to justify our sinful desires and behaviors towards those that we disagree with politically. And before we get to what worries me the most about this entire situation and how Christians should react, I want to remind us that as Christians, we should have a hunger for the truth and resist the temptation to be more concerned with demonizing demonizing the other side than discovering the actual truth. The only problem is that outlets today create echo chambers, making it harder than ever to separate what's true from the bias in reporting. And this is why I appreciate ground news, because they help you not only understand where the news is coming from, but they also highlight the bias from both sides in every story. Ground news has straightforward yet impactful features like the coverage bar, which shows you exactly how many sources are reporting on a story as well as their political leanings. It essentially helps you quickly gauge the diversity of viewpoints and potential biases in reporting. So for example, as you can see, there's currently 65 outlets covering Trump's response to the shooting, but only 21% of the left-leaning outlets are covering it so far. And here you can also see which outlets are covering it. And if you go over here to the bias comparison button, you can see how the left, the center, and the right are covering the same story. Another great feature offered by Ground News is the blind spot feed. This feature covers stories that are overlooked by one side of the political spectrum. For example, here you can see this story with 14 sources that no left-leaning outlets have covered. Sounds like a blind spot to me. So Ground News has become a valuable tool for me, especially as a Christian seeking truth and integrity in media. If you want to try Ground News today, go ahead and scan the QR code on the screen or go to the link down below in the description to get 40% off unlimited access to the Vantage plan. But perhaps what worries me the most about this entire situation is the apparent standstill that we're in. When those on the left did condemn the violence against Trump, it didn't go how they thought it would. For example, Obama made a post saying, "There's absolutely no place for political violence in our democracy. Although we don't yet know exactly what happened, we should all be relieved that former President Trump wasn't seriously hurt and use this moment to recommit ourselves to civility and respect in our politics. Michelle and I are wishing him a quick recovery." But the comments on his post were nearly completely filled with blame for what happened and anger at him for saying anything about it at all. Now, for the point that I'm making here in this video, let's leave aside whatever you think about Obama and what he's done in the past. This isn't a political video, so to focus on that misses the point. The point of me saying all of this is that we've reached a point that no one could possibly say anything to make the other side happy. No matter if people on the other side of the aisle say something or say nothing at all, the type of responses are going to be the same. The same responses that Obama got are similar to those that several progressive commentators have gotten as well. If it was Biden that got shot, people would automatically say that it was Trump's fault for inciting it, and the same thing now is being said against Biden as he's blamed for inciting it. The point is, we're now beyond the point of hoping for reasonable dialogue between the two sides. Both sides have been reacting to each other for so long that things have only been escalating, and people are far less willing to find common ground than ever before, since they deem the other side as being full of nothing but absolutely evil people who are going to destroy America. The fact that our country is getting more and more divided and is only going to get worse seems undeniable at this point. People are increasingly condoning political violence at frightening levels, and I don't see any indication that things will slow down anytime soon. But when it comes to how Christians should be reacting to all of this, there's a lot that can be said, but here's a couple of things that I would encourage you to keep in mind. First off, we should be careful not to respond to worldly events like the world does. Working in the flesh leads to things like hatred, discord, fits of rage, and division. But if we operate in the Spirit, it leads to things that flow from the fruits of the Spirit. Things like love, joy, peace, and kindness. And in a world where it's so easy to become so bitter and hateful towards the other side, it helps to remember that, before everything else, our citizenship is in heaven. That means that our ultimate loyalty should be to Christ and his kingdom, not political leaders and their kingdoms. Secondly, the Bible also tells us to pray for our leaders, no matter if we like them or not. We shouldn't only pray for the leaders that we like and agree with. If anything, we should be praying for those that we don't like and we don't agree with. They're also created in the image of God, and God gave them authority and established them in their positions. And finally, Christians are also to mourn with those who mourn. It doesn't matter if you can't stand Trump and his supporters. We're called to come alongside of those who are mourning, and that includes the families of those that lost their lives. We should pray for the family of Corey Comparator, the families of the other two that were injured, and also the family of the shooter. Let's be the light in a world that's growing in darkness, and utilize this moment as an opportunity to show the true love of Christ and the good that it can do for the world. We can be different from the world by being charitable and extending love to people no matter what they say and do. Even if it's not fair, we can still do this because Christ dying for us wasn't fair either. He didn't deserve what happened to him, but he still responded with grace and prayed for his enemies. And there's simply no good reason for why we can't do the same.